what we found out after the fact was that the autopsy revealed that it was actually the cops that ended up shooting two of the victims. One was critically injured. The other one was killed. Okay? Now, one of the things I will mention here is that, once again, as we enter Shabbat, we stand with the UK Jewish community mourning the two lives lost, confronting a sickening reality while the community believes protesters flood the streets not in solidarity but to amplify hate. As my friend Phil R. asked, what are they really here for? I mean, the answer is really simple to this question, okay? Man, that guy was leeching. That's what he said. Son of a bitch. I was leeching, though. He's right. He's not wrong. I was leeching. The answer is simple. Anti, that's it. Like, on the one hand, that is a abhorrent anti-Semitic hate crime, okay? No one should be fearful to go to their place of worship. Absolutely. This doesn't advance any cause or anything. It's just ridiculous. It is an anti-Semitic hate crime that took place. 1,000,000%. That is completely separated from the epic magnitude of death and destruction that Israel is unleashing upon the captive Palestinian population. Here, I'll give you an example, okay? This was a heinous hate crime. And then we found out that actually the cops themselves, I mean, it's still the responsibility of the attacker with a knife, right? But we found out that I think it was the cops that shot one of the two people. Wait, they shot both of the victims? I thought two people died and then one was in critical condition. It was actually the cops that shot both of them? No, I thought the cops shot one out of the two people that were killed. Cops shot two people, but one was injured and one died. Wait, I'm confused. Do you think he shot someone with his knife? No, I thought he stabbed someone to death. And then cops killed the other person on accident. Because I saw that there were two deaths. So was that actually the attacker being counted as... Wait. No, I think one person was stabbed to death. One person was shot and killed. And then one person was shot and injured. The cops shot and killed one person and shot and injured the other person. But the attacker actually stabbed someone. Right? Okay. So I didn't misunderstand that. So one guy was killed by the attacker. Yeah. So here's what takes place. I didn't have time to cover this yesterday, but basically what took place is this guy walks up to a synagogue. Right? It's an act of terror. It's an anti-Semitic hate crime. He walks up to the Heaton Park Hebrew congregation in Middleton Road in Crumpsall. And he has a knife, okay? I have the police statement. I know. I have the police statement. I'm going to describe the incident from the start. So he walks up to the, or he drove his car. I don't know. He might have driven into it. But he tries to go in. You know what? Hold on. I'm just going to pull the article of the incident first, instead of trying to recall from memory, because I don't want to fit up. Does anyone have a article? Okay, guys, stop sending me other stuff. Thank you, Fizz. Okay. So, hold on. Where do we start? Here do we... No, these are the updates. So, guy rams his car into pedestrians outside of a synagogue on Thursday morning and then attacks them with a knife. Okay? He wore what appeared to be an explosives belt, which was found to be fake. Okay? The assault took place as people gathered at the Orthodox synagogue on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and the most solemn day in the Jewish calendar. Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis, the head of the Orthodox Judaism in Britain, said the attack was the result of an unrelenting wave of Jew hatred on the streets and online. So, basically, what ends up happening is he drives into a crowd. He goes in the synagogue with a knife, and also what looks to be a fake explosive vest. Okay. And from what I understand, I think like they also tried to close the door on him as well, like keep him out of the synagogue as well. And cops come in 7 minutes after the incident begins, okay? And they start shooting. And in the process of shooting, at first, there were multiple victims and 2 people were killed. 2 of the synagogue attendees were killed. Okay. And at first people thought that he had actually, stabbed and killed all of the people. But what we found out after the fact was that the autopsy revealed that it was actually the cops that ended up shooting 2 of the victims. One was critically injured. The other one was killed. Okay. Now, one of the things I will mention here is that, once again, thank God that in England, they don't have the amount of guns that we do. Okay. That is instantly the first thing beyond, obviously, talking about how heinous of an act of violence this is. Thank God that England has decent gun control, much better gun control than we do. Okay. British police have identified the suspect who drove a car to the members of the public outside of a Manchester synagogue on Thursday before attacking people with a knife. His name is Jihad al-Shami, which a lot of people were saying, like, oh, that's fake, right? Like, no, Jihad is like a normal name, guys. I mean, his background is like kind of odd. He's Syrian. He's a freelancer who worked from home. No family, no public footprint, a social circle. Weird, sure. But like, Jihad is not like a weird, it's normal. Jihad is a normal name, okay? Jihad is a normal Arabic name. It's a normal name in Muslim countries. Just so you guys understand. I know, because I saw a lot of people like making jokes about that, being like, dude, this sounds crazy. It was like, sounds like a J.K. Rowling character. It's like, no, it's a common name in Arabic. Yeah, there's even an American who plays football for the Eagles, and his name is Jihad Campbell. Yeah. I mean, it's normal, but it's not common. Yes, it is both common and normal. It's just another name. It's a regular-ass name. What are you talking about? Like, yeah, it's not as common as Muhammad, but it's a regular-ass Arabic name, guys. Calm down. Okay? Yeah, it's not only just for boys. I think it's for girls as well. Anyway, he was a British citizen of Syrian descent. He was shot dead by firearms officer just minutes after the rampage began. Manchester police report one of the 2 victims killed in the attack was hit by police gunfire, and one of the 3 people hospitalized was struck by a bullet fired by the police. In any case, this is a heinous incident. It's a heinous incident. It's an anti-Semitic hate crime, 100%, right? It's an act of... 2 things that I want to bring up is that not a lot of, from what I understand, not a lot of media attention was given to the stabbing of Sheikh Mohammed Yusuf that took place a week prior to this. Luckily he was in he remains in stable condition. But also on top of that, instantly people turned around and mad at the pro-Palestinian protests that were taking place in the UK, because this is happening while the Samud flotilla was being intercepted by Israel. And this goes back to the asymmetry of not only media coverage, but like the asymmetry of humanity, of Muslims and the way that Muslims are covered in the Western media, and how much attention is paid to Islamophobia in Western media. UK had Salavist. I know, I'm not even going to get into that part of it. It's just like, I know there's a lot of weirdos in the UK as well. But the point I'm trying to make is, while these guys were saying like, how dare this, like this was during Yom Kippur, it's you know, it's true. It's a incredibly important Jewish holiday, a Jewish day of atonement. Israel killed 53 people in Gaza. 53. Like, perhaps as one of the clearest demonstrations that Israel has nothing to do with Judaism, no matter how much people claim that that is the case. No, it's not whataboutism. It's an incredibly, incredibly important point that I'm making here, which is that not only is Israel completely disconnected and only uses Judaism as like a defensive shield, okay? But also on top of that, people who want to defend Israel will then turn around and say they will use a heinous hate crime that took place against Jews in the UK to try and stop anti-protests from taking place. It's ridiculous. Timestamp. UK Home Secretary called it un-British to protest against Gaza.
On Thursday night in Westminster, a demonstration took place in support of a flotilla trying...
Israel's actions have also caused a concerning number of people who said that the synagogue once donated money to Israel, so therefore, by their logic, is a valid target. Yeah, that kind of shit is completely unacceptable, dude. And it's wild to me that, like, especially Muslims would ever make that comparison because, dog, what the are you talking about? Like, dude, you can protest outside of a synagogue if they're literally selling West Bank land inside of the synagogue. But under no circumstance can you connect the entire Jewry or places of worship to Zionism and then directly attack random people. That is the most psychotic thing. And not only is it psychotic, Muslims have experienced violence of this sort post 9/11 nonstop. So if there's one group of people that should be understanding of what that feels like, what that looks like, it should be Muslims. Now, you might turn around and say, well, son, like the majority of Jews in the UK support Israel. It doesn't fucking matter. Okay? It doesn't matter. It does not fucking matter. That's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous.
Trying to take aid to people in Gaza. The Home Secretary described it as un-British, coming just a few hours after the Manchester attack. We spoke to one of the demonstrators about the Home Secretary's comments.
I'm deeply disappointed in the Home Secretary coming out and saying that, because all she's doing is sowing division, and our communities have to come together.
But some people would have thought that was not a day to have any kind of political protest. It was a day to grieve and a day perhaps to take a step back. The Home Secretary has called it.
See, this is what I mean also, okay? Those grieving every day, okay? Big dog, Muslims have always had a history of violence during the very beginning. Thanks, man. What do you fucking mean? It's a genocide, for the record. Fuck that guy. That guy's a Islamophobic piece of shit. It's a fucking genocide. Every day is a day of grieving. The fuck is this psycho saying? Every day is a day of grieving. This is why I brought up the fact that Israel killed 53 Palestinians on Yom Kippur, okay, in Gaza. Are those not lives? That's the question. Because they are. But the way that people treat it in the media is just a statistic. They have perfectly collateralized those lives in Gaza. They're all kind of responsible for their own demise. You know what I mean? Oops, sorry, shouldn't have been born there. Shouldn't have been born there. An area that Israel simply wants to expand into. An area that Israel simply wants to dominate. An area that Israel has to occupy. I hate this shit. Those are lives too, man. I can grieve for both. Some parts of the we oppose killing innocent civilians crowd seem to turn a blind eye to the killing of innocent civilians if they can justify it. Easily dismissible of inconsistent, immoral opportunists who fall on the right side of the Palestine issue by happenstance, not by ideological conviction. Yeah, it's pure reactionary response. It's just you're pure reactionary. It is completely and utterly unacceptable. Then Sheehan, to spend the Yom Kippur, the holy day of faith, the Day of Atonement, slaughtering caged, starved, traumatized civilians, and to not see that slaughter as something for which you should atone, to have burnt up your soul so completely, it's hard to fathom. That in and of itself is a perfect depiction that Israel is just simply fucking using Judaism as like a shield and as a weapon, okay? And nothing else. How are you going to, on the one hand, say this is such an important fucking Day of Atonement, and then also, on the other hand, slaughter people en masse? Anyway, they're also blaming Deputy PM Lamy for recognizing a Palestinian state. Dude, I'm going to be honest also, for the record. The people that are doing this shit are so fucking cynical. Like, if you're doing this, it kind of feels like you don't care about the victims. Even if they were your friends, even if they were your fucking members of your community, you care more about Israel, seemingly. Like, the fuck do you mean? That person, I don't know what their fucking perspective is. It's very obvious that they were anti-Semitic. Whether they falsely believed that they were on some righteous fucking vengeance mission or whatever. Okay? It doesn't matter. It was a heinous fucking crime regardless. But that person is falsely connecting. That person is falsely connecting his actions to some kind of righteous vengeance quest about Israel and Israel's actions in the same way that these people are. It's just two sides of the same coin. That dude, if we are to assume that he thought he was doing something for Palestine, which is, again, insane, is also connecting every Jewish person to the actions of Israel in the same way that Jewish people who are yelling at David Lammy are also connecting themselves to the state of Israel and its heinous actions. It's ridiculous. How do you know that that was the motive? I'm saying if that was his motive, Chad. I'm not saying that that was his motive. Okay. What we do know is that it is an anti-Semitic hate crime. Obviously, you don't just like walk into a fucking synagogue and start stabbing people, regardless. Like that's what it is. It is an anti-Semitic hate crime. So you knew the guy? Oh, come on, man. Don't even fucking joke like that. Green Party leader accuses Jabana Mahmood of being deeply irresponsible.
From the Green Party, which opens its autumn conference in Bournemouth this weekend. That's his first since party leader Zach Polanski was elected with an 84% mandate. He joins me now from Bournemouth. A very good morning to you. And I do want to start by getting your reaction to the attack on that Manchester synagogue. As I understand it, you grew up in the Jewish community in Manchester. So give us your reaction this morning.
Well, it's difficult to find any other reaction that's new other than saying this is a horrific attack. As you say, I'm a Jewish man who grew up. I went to a synagogue that was very close to this synagogue. I went to school close to this synagogue. So this is both personal for me and is political. I suppose my deep reflection on a day like this is the work that I'm proudest of as one of the 5 people in the last 100 years to be in a leadership position in British politics that is Jewish, is to say that I'm really proud of interfaith work, where I've come together with the Muslim community to say actually an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. And actually the only authentic response is solidarity. We need community cohesion and we need people to stick together.
Have you been able to speak to anybody there? Give us an idea on what impact this will have had on the community in Manchester and the impact on Jewish people across the country.
Well, it's awful. We know for a long time that anti-Semitism has been on the rise. Again, I experienced that personally on social media, but we also know that there's members of the Orthodox community, both in Manchester and in London, who have had both verbal and physical attacks. I think it's about ultimately, though, I think your last contributor in the last package was really right. This can't just be about more security. We can't just spend more money on weapons or people or build bigger walls. We ultimately need to have a conversation in this country about what does community cohesion look like. We know that the best work is when communities are invested in, when people eat together, they can pray together, they can gather together. And I think decades of both conservative austerity and now Labour austerity is really causing some of these divisions in society. And actually, this is a moment to step back and look at how can the government, how can anyone in civil society play their part right now in unity rather than division.
Kemi Badenoch has
this guy's awesome.
linked some of the language around the war in Gaza. She says phrases like global intifada with creating a hostile atmosphere for Jewish people. The Greens have been outspoken in their support of Palestinians, but do you share those concerns about language?
No, I think Kemi Badenoch's been deeply irresponsible there. We need to not conflate the Jewish community and the ongoing genocide in Gaza. And actually putting those two things together, I say personally as a Jewish person, makes me feel more at risk. I think you can both be...
That's the goat talking. Respect.
Absolutely clear that anti-Semitism and Islamophobia in our country is totally unacceptable. And you can stand against the ongoing genocide and our government's complicity, in fact, active enabling by selling arms to Israel. Those are two different issues, but we can hold the nuance and complexity of recognizing right is right and wrong is wrong. We can say that clearly.
Well, while we talk about language, your deputy leader, Mothin Ali, has been criticised for his response to the October the 7th attacks. He called it the end.
It's like, bro, come on. These guys aren't even like real Philo-Semites, okay? That's the other thing. Because you got a Jewish man talking. Put some respect on it. You know what I mean? If you're going to be like dick riding Israel into oblivion from a position of Philo-Semitism, you got to let the goat talk, okay? He's Jewish. You can do that to me. You shouldn't be able to do that to him, right? But such is the mind of Christian Zionists, where your Judaism is also taken away from you in that moment, where it's like, okay, yeah. Don't use your Jewish background as a shield to defend these disgusting terrorists who are pro-Palestinian. I know what you're up to. Let me follow up on this and be like, why won't you condemn your fucking MPs? It's like, it's just so ridiculous, man. It's so ridiculous. Like, how can you flip it on and off like that? It just always reminds me of Richie Torres and the Adam Friedland conversation, where he was like basically yelling at Adam Friedland for being pro-Palestine and not taking the issue of anti-Semitism seriously. It's like, Richie, what the fuck are you saying, bro? He's Jewish.
White settler colonialism. He's since apologised, but is it appropriate to have him as your deputy leader?
Well, I think the key words there are he has apologised, and this was before he was deputy leader. What I would say more widely, though, is I'm a Jewish man who's feeling this genocide deeply. Every single day, the equivalent of a classroom of children are being slaughtered in Gaza. And so as a Muslim man, whilst I don't condone the language, I can understand why this is also an incredibly difficult time for many Muslim people, as it is for Jewish people.
It's so rare to see a human being, like, just... because that's what he's doing here. He's just being a human being. You say he's staying on message and stuff, but like, that's it. He's just like, come on, man. Come on. Like, what are we talking about? There's a fucking goddamn country out there that's just like literally killing, as in his words, a classroom full of children every day and saying that they're doing it in my fucking name. And then also on the other side, you got a dude who's like victim of vicious attacks and his fucking statements that predate like 2 years of genocide, and you're over here trying to talk shit. That's a good dude.
Ultimately, I think...
No wonder the Greens have been picking up a lot of steam. In the words of Gavin Newsom, what an impressive man. I'm very impressed.
Rather than trying to divide communities, I'm not saying that's what you're doing, I'm just saying more widely, rather than dividing communities, I think this is really a moment of reflection and actually going, how can we all take responsibility to make sure our language is nuanced, that it's...
Like, look at how little... By the way, it's so funny because, like, you got a Jewish dude, okay, who's in a position of power. He's the head of the Green Party, right? Being asked about his thoughts in the aftermath of this heinous anti-Semitic attack. And then instantly, the majority of the conversation is basically bullying him for daring to recognize the humanity of Israel's victims, while simultaneously talking about how dangerous it is and how disrespectful it is that Israel says that they're doing this for people like him. Jews in the UK, Jews in the United States of America, Jewish people all around the world. So, of course, that's not the right answer. We don't like that answer. So the rest of the interview from that point on is just fucking like what was it, like 2 minutes in? They were like, what do you think about this as a Jewish man, about this heinous anti-Semitic attack? And he gives his thoughts. And then the rest of it, for like 5 minutes out of the 7 minutes, is just bullying him because he gave the wrong answer. Like, this is so corny and so transparent. Okay? This is so fucking transparent. Like, what these people are doing is so transparent. They're like, wow, heinous anti-Semitic attack took place. Time to yell at some pro-Palestine people. Doesn't matter if they're Jewish themselves. Doesn't matter what their background is. Time to yell at those guys. In some ways, it's no fucking different than what Donald Trump did, where he was like, Charlie Kirk is dead. Look at my ballroom. We're going to start prosecuting the Antifa terrorists in honor of free speech. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't feel like you really gave a shit about Charlie Kirk, man. I'm going to be honest with you. You kind of immediately moved towards an initiative of tackling political dissent in the country. Very odd thing to do. Look at my ballroom. Look at my ballroom. Isn't it beautiful? We're building it. It's going to be beautiful.
But also that we don't turn our eye from what's happening, and we do what we can within our role in a democratic structure to do that. That today we're about to have our biggest Green Party conference in history. And the reason why I say that is I think the antidote to all of this is the ballot box. And I want to make sure that everyone in this country right now knows that my message from the Green Party is we will lower your bills, we will protect the National Health Service, and we will actually invest in communities. I think that's the antidote to so much of this toxicity.
Shabana Mahmood said that she was disappointed to see pro-Palestinian marches go ahead after the...
Still, Every time he's like, listen, issue focused, issue focused. A lot of instability, a lot of anger in the air. We're here to bring people back together on a united message. We're going to protect the NHS. Okay. We are going to solve people's economic problems. And she's like, well, what about the pro-Palestine position? Should they be covered under the National Health Service? Do you really believe they deserve it? Come on, give me something. Anything. Tell me they're not allowed to go to the hospital. Something.
Last night across the country. She said that she thought it was dishonourable. She said people could have just stepped back and given communities a day or two to grieve and process what had happened. Does she have a point, do you think?
No, I think Shabana Mahmood is also being deeply irresponsible. There's a lot of it about. I think ultimately conflating protests against a genocide in Gaza and ultimately weaponizing that against an anti-Semitic attack on our streets, a terrorist attack, is deeply irresponsible. And again, democratic, non-violent protest is a cornerstone of our democracy. And I think it's worrying when government are increasingly trying to crush down dissent and again using what is a brutal attack that many of us in the Jewish community, in fact all of us in the Jewish community, are feeling very deeply, to try and use that to point at a protest and say people don't have a right to also speak out against the genocide. He's both conflating issues, it's incoherent, and it's exactly the opposite of what we need from politicians. We need statesmanship in this moment. We need responsibility. We need people to be sensitive about their language, but also recognize that there is complexity to this, and it can't just be about finger pointing at people who are very worried about a genocide.
In practical terms, the Prime Minister has pledged extra security for synagogues and other places where Jewish people will gather. Do you feel enough is being done to protect people?
I think it can't just be about spending more money and investment. That's part of it. But actually, this country right now is having a conversation about, and I think that probably needs to be a deeper conversation than just waving flags. I think it has to be about why does some people not feel like they belong here? Why do they feel unwelcome? And actually, how can we make sure that everyone feels loved for their community and loved from their community? Those are complex things, particularly when there are tensions in our communities. But we know when we get this right, this is what's part of what makes Britain great. Migration, multiculturalism is all really important part of being British. It also requires the work. And I think far too often the work is not done. Instead, there's just been angry words. Angry words are not going to get us anywhere. We need unity, we need complicated conversations, and we need to bring people together rather than divide.
Damn. He cooked. He cooked. That was excellent. All right, that'll be all for me today. 7 hours, half day Hossie.